Mastering salary negotiation. Why would you listen to me in this? Because I've done it a lot. Did it go good? No. But by going through the examples or some scenarios, hopefully you'll be able to figure out what not to do. I do think I started to learn about how to do it correctly, but yeah, I don't think it's terribly easy to do because there's a bunch of variables for each one of them, and usually the TikTok or YouTube short stuff of these 5 simple steps isn't really that easy when you actually apply it. So I make these presentations, one, to get better communication for myself. Two, I use Gamma for this. It makes it really quick. Hopefully I can help somebody out in the meantime. I bring up the Gamma part because some of the stuff isn't completely what I'm looking for. Sometimes I add tables, graphs, and stuff, which is great. Although I do spend a good amount of time on this page, I don't, make it all to a T and stuff like that. Right now I'm just trying to focus on making something in, my life go on, not necessarily PowerPoints. Just practice right now. So I've had 3 different outcomes come out from it. There's a compromise. I receive a good raise, but then I get significantly more responsibilities, which is good. But in some circumstances, you can gain a lot more work when the compensation isn't fully matched. That happened in one of my airport jobs. The growth path, I sought a higher position with expanded duties. Always want more responsibility with these. Makes work and life more fun. The strategy helped move you forward to increase your compensation through career advancement, basically getting more skills. And the value exchange. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have a cold. Leverage accomplishments and ask for reciprocal commitment. Basically, a lot of stats. I did this stuff for you. I showed that I was committed to you, or I had a commitment. I'd like that, back in return. You have to have proven results to validate your increased compensation requests. So the do's and don'ts that I do: don't say yes too quickly without evaluating. Now, if you're brand new or you don't have any work experience, I more so go on the say yes because you don't really have any leverage. I've had other people that start their first corporate job and they're starting them at 65, and they say, "Hey, will you do 60 or no? Will you do 70?" And they say yes. I wouldn't have done that. Good to have the nuts to do that. I wouldn't. Whoops. Man, where did I go? I wouldn't, but up to you. But if you do have some leverage, don't say yes too quickly, because then that can really you can just miss out on a lot. I wouldn't try to fight them to the last penny either, but that's just me. All right, focusing solely on what you deserve rather than unique value. Deserve and feeling like you deserve something is usually tied around a lot of emotion and a bias. Somebody else might not seem that way. What I would try to stress is the unique value that you bring and then what you can do that nobody else can. That's your actual leverage. Don't ignore the business perspective and the ROI. People a lot of times say, I only get $20 an hour. I only get $25 an hour. Like, okay, let's reverse this the other way. The business has to make money on you, right? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to have you around. Can you, and I mean, this is going to be like super capitalist, I guess. I don't know how to make a job so far. And the majority of people can't make work and employ somebody. It's extremely hard to do that. So I'm not saying that you should just get steamrolled, but that business does have to make money off of you. And too much of the time, I feel like people get stuck in this, I deserve this, or they get focused on their dollar amount per hour, saying that they don't get paid enough. Well, you got to look at what value and what return on investment that the business is getting off of you. Smart strategies that I found was prepare concrete examples backed up by data. This could be starting a project that you've saw to fruition and the results of that, or how many hours that you've spent, but mostly projects for me, or maybe developing somebody younger. Frame requests around the business value and ROI. This could be, I would make money, or I mean, this is kind of a risky one, but I have this job and I have the second job. I make more money at my second job, and I've spent the last couple months here working my tail off, doing all these concrete examples. But although I love the work here, I get paid more at the other job. I feel like I'm worth my value right now, and I can get this increase, or if this increase right now would allow me to focus on this job primarily, and I'll be happier here, right? I have to sell these things. I need to be in a good mood. I'm not happy here right now, knowing that I should be at my other job getting paid more. Now you have to really frame that around, because then you gotta worry about their ROI and stuff. So you got to be you have to be a very good position in order to do that. I did that at the car dealership that I was at. Very different situation. I was the only sales fella, at least for a little bit. Consider total cost of company replacement. So let me go back to the dealership. After going through school for business, and then we changed everything. I had to learn the state system, then I had to learn the cash flow system, and then I had to learn about all the ones that we had platforms on, Car Gurus, Facebook, why we did things. I did a competitive analysis. Like even after like 1 month, it still had. Once I got done with that 1 month period, if he were to swap me with another person who had the same experience, it would cost him money because then we're not doing. The new fella has to do the same learning curve that I did. And if you get somebody with the experience, then it's going to cost him more money because the fella has the experience. So, especially this is when you get like more towards specialized roles. If you're working in, I don't know, some parts of a factory, or you're a ramp agent, or you're just moving boxes, this is basically nil. So, like I said before, there's a lot of variables. Research by industry. Preparation strategies different based on your career field. White collar, in my experience, they analyze salary averages using multiple sources. So if you're negotiating, I like to use the median of what the average is and then go off of that and say, like, this is how I am more adept than the average person. Once you agree that my work is above average. Research company specific data when available. So research company, like basically all of this salary averages down here, or churn rate, stuff like that. Negotiate upfront with initial offers if you have some leverage. This was fine. I talked about. Okay, that was strange. I'm talking about with somebody who went to their first corporate job and they negotiated right up front. It's up to you. Use comparable offers as leverage. If you already have other job offers or you have another job, use that as leverage, because then that just negates, like, okay, the median salary is $60,000. I have another job offer saying $70,000. Are you going to do 65? Then they can't bring up the average anymore. They have to compete with the other job. I think that might be my speaker. Okay, here we go. A candidate asked for $70,000 instead of the initial $65,000 offer. No detail or justified required. This is the first corporate job for my buddy. They got a $5,000 increase just for asking. Blue collar research. Usually, in my experience with this, it's all been off of skills. If you get any other certifications, that determines your starting pay. All right, that's annoying. That determines your starting pay with your skills. They might look and see, like, if you're welding, how good of a welder that you are, or see whatever certificates that you have. My experience has always been focused on quality work and reliability, showing up on time, and then just if they tell you to do something, that you can do it. And is increased on demonstrated competence. So if you're doing a good job or not. When I worked concrete construction, the fella gave me a dollar increase after the first day I did my job. Now, I was a young fella. I was like 18. And he gave me a dollar increase right away. Performance speaks louder than negotiation tactics. Here you might have some negotiation, whatever, run around. Blue-collar jobs I've always had just very straightforward type of deal. Build unshakable confidence. Before, I've always tried to help out, not necessarily negotiate for compensation. Where that really came out was at the dealership when you had to really speak on your own. But just be confident in your work. When you go over your examples, your concrete examples of how you've helped a business, what their ROI or the things we talked about, if you don't feel confident in asking for a raise, maybe you shouldn't ask for one. I know that when I go to work, I have very high quality work and I work all the time, and the things that I actually do work on have larger examples or larger impacts. Like, there's a food donation program, and we've donated over 2,500 meals at this point. that's a large impact, or orchestrating some other things. So I'm very confident in that. And when you go into this, you need to be confident, and they need to know that you're serious about it. So make sure you practice a whole bunch so you don't stumble over your words. Gather evidence, have all of those in your head. You can write it down too and give it to them to make it easier for them, just so they don't feel berated. And ask for feedback. Say, okay, if it's, if I'm not worth it right now, what's it going to be to be worth it? I want this responsibility right now, and I want my pay to come back. If you're in a sales position, you can calculate ROI. If I get this amount more, I want this percentage higher, stuff like that. So one thing to remember is the cost to replace you isn't the recruiting that it takes to do it. It's lost experience, the company knowledge, and productivity during the transition. So there's kind of a 3-part in there, that you have experience that somebody brand new might not have, the company knowledge, which is specific to the company, and then the productivity that's going to change when they're training in the new fella. So those are always pretty good ones to bring up. Winning tactics or phrases. Now, let's see. Offers, we talked about job offers before. That is probably one of the biggest ones here. That's either like an on or off switch. I have this job, it's going to pay me more. If they want you, then they'll negotiate. If they say go with that job, then they probably don't want you. Show business impact. Concrete examples again. Outline future plans. This is a good one. Like, you talk about things that you've done before, but then you always need to have something like a larger plan that you can go with. Either if it's that you have more responsibility and now you can start implementing that, or something saying like, it would come down, at least it did to me, saying like, all right, if I get this compensation, this is my future plan. If I can't do this, I don't want to be with the business, and then I'm out. Well, I had to get out, but it didn't go as planned. But you got to be true to your word. If you tell them you're gonna leave, you gotta leave. Know your true worth. I guess that goes into this. Walk away principles. If you'll say you'll walk away, your needs aren't met, you must walk away. Otherwise, empty threats, they're just going to hurt your credibility, and you're going to have no leverage later on. And then also, you got to complete or think about the whole package. Salary and bonuses, if you're getting monetary stuff. Other times, maybe it's not that. Maybe you're just trying to build some skill development for something later you want in the future. Otherwise, if you're in college or right out of college, focus on the resume building. Maybe that's taking on additional projects that look good for your resume, or something that can give you skill development. Or maybe it's a stepping stone for a career trajectory that you can do later. Like, I already put my time in at this job, now I want to go with the big dogs. Set clear terms after you're done negotiation. Have a backup plan ready, because if you walk, you're going to need it. And then also be prepared to walk, which goes into this. So one thing I want to stress here, don't just focus on the money. Weigh the skill development and the resume building, mostly skill development, on the long-term value of skills. So, that's it. Hopefully that helped you out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.